The story of Magic the Gathering takes place in a location known as the Multiverse, where different planes of existence act as the main and rotating settings for the entire lore. We can also find many references to this in card descriptions throughout various expansions. The multiverse is seemingly infinite, as it is the number of existing planes within it. And between these planes, it exists an endless void that is referred to as blind eternities. These are regions of space filled with chaotic energies known as ether and mana. The latter, by the way, is the same one that players use when casting spells in the game, and lore-wise, it naturally flows along the ley lines, which are ancient energetic paths that flow across any given plane. One thing to keep in mind is that planes are not to be thought as distant worlds, but rather as alternate and completely separate realities that cannot be physically reached from the outside. The only exception to this are Planeswalkers, some of the most powerful beings in the multiverse who can, as their name suggests, successfully walk the region of blind eternity separating two planes. This effectively allows them to travel from one plane of existence to another through a spell known as Planeswalking, uncovering new worlds, races, stories, and lore. The story behind Planeswalkers, their abilities, and the different breeds of their kind are so intricate, interesting, and fascinating that they will deserve an in-depth video of their own in the future. For now, all you need to know is that in order to become a Planeswalker, a sentient being had to have a not yet active magical potential tied to their soul. This potential is known as the Planeswalker's Spark. Doug Bayer, current senior creative designer for Wizards of the Coast, has declared in an article that the Planeswalker's Spark is more or less a 1 in a million thing in sentient beings, and having it ignite is even rarer. So, potential Planeswalkers could be born randomly in any sentient species across the multiverse with no evident sign of their inner latent power. Should these beings then undergo moments of extremely high distress or trauma, in many cases death, the spark can go off or ignite and they can transcend into the Planeswalker version of themselves. Also, apart from being characters of Magic's lore, each player of Magic the Gathering too is canonically a fully ignited Planeswalker, able to take advantage of mana across multiple planes to cast powerful spells and to traverse blind eternities to their likings. As we have mentioned, no one knows exactly how many planes are there, nor what the true nature of the multiverse is. What we know, though, is that the multiverse was previously known as Dominaria, and that there is a region of it that holds a great deal of mystery. I'm talking about the Nexus of the multiverse. The Nexus is a very special plane that lies at the center of the multiverse and that exerts a great influence on all other planes. The world of Dominaria, where the majority of Magic storylines unfold, is known to have been the Nexus. Its name literally means Song of Dominia, and Sarah Angels refer to it as the Wheel, because what happens in Dominaria is bound to affect many other planes. However, because Dominaria is not eternal, and we know about the existence of older planes such as Aquilor, it is very likely that the Nexus was originally located somewhere else. Indeed, due to the ever-changing and shifting nature of the multiverse, Dominaria was bound to cease being the Nexus one day. This happened when a cosmological event of insane proportions known as the Great Mending took place throughout the multiverse, shifting the Nexus position to a still unknown location. The actual nature of this shift is still unknown. However, it is believed that for a plane to become the Nexus, large mana lines must flow into it from other planes. This would fuel an unnaturally quick regeneration of mana supplies, which could then affect other planes too. Because of this chain-like structure, an hypothetical collapse of the Nexus could cause the immediate disruption of the multiverse's time stream, leading to the immediate end of its existence as well as of the near-infinite amount of its planes. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves though. Our journey today begins on Dominaria, in a time before Planeswalkers and the 5 colors of Magic even existed. A time before history itself, known as the Age of Dragons, when the Elder Dragon War took place. The Elder Dragon War is the greatest conflict in the mythological history of Dominaria and constitutes the chronologically oldest bit of lore that we have of Magic's world. It was fought between ancient sentient beings collectively known as Elder Dragons, and it lasted around 5,000 years. The war started with 7 descendants of the elder dragon Vivictus Asmod raided the lands of Nicol Bolas, another one of their kin. Bolas, who was aided by his army and subjects, managed to effectively repel their advance by employing Dragon Hunter's tactics, and was then directly confronted by Vivictus and his 3 siblings, Rubra, Ravus, and Lividus. During the tremendous fight, Rubra took a poisoned bolt in the eye, and when the venom reached his brain, he fell unconscious to the ground and was ruthlessly killed in his sleep. Although this small victory, Bolas suffered a staggering defeat overall, and was then forced to retreat on the mountains, where it was confronted again by Ravus and Lividus. The mighty dragon, however, had one last trick up its sleeve. His army of sorcerers conjured a disintegration spell that invisibly annihilated Ravus, leaving Lividus at Bolas's mercy. Now that it was not outnumbered anymore, Bolas easily managed to overpower Lividus and its will, turning him against Vivictus through mind control. As the 2 siblings were fighting each other, Bolas and what remained of his army took their chance to escape. What happened on the mountains pushed Bolas to change his war tactics though. The Horned One, blinded by anger and seeking revenge against its kind, started to manipulate the many dragon clans still living on the mountains, turning them against each other and effectively starting the war. Palladiamors, sister to Bolas and easily impressionable, was among the first to partake in the war. The ease with which the gullible could be turned to his purpose was surprisingly pleasurable. Returning to his kingdom seemed unadventurous and bland. Instead, he journeyed on a new lair of dragons, a new territory to inflame. He sought out Palladiamors. She remembered him with a dismissive cloud to his head, but she listened avidly to his tale of how vulnerable Vivictus now was. Revenge was indeed sweet. In years to come, the stories would be told at hearth fires, or by refugees huddled around campfires seeking safety. Not that they would ever be safe. Dragons from one clan raided the mountain fastnesses of a Khausen clan. Amid the snow-capped peaks, the dragon fought in thunderous battle, claw to claw, fire to fire. Charred flesh rained down from the heavens. Bones shattered at the base of cliffs. Those whose anger could never be sated tore their way through the dying, feasting upon the bloody flesh of their own kind. But greed and envy grow the more they are fed. Maws open to swallow larger portions, and claws reach for yet more distant prey. Unable to satiate their greed, dragons turn their gaze upon the fields and herds of humanoid settlements. Some wish to devour them, others to control them, and few to teach and to guide them. So, dragons cross the mighty seas to find new lands in which to feed their hunger for flesh and for power. When even those distant shores became too crowded, the dragons fought each other with tooth and claw, fire and ice. Under dragon standards, they raised proud war bands from among the humanoids who worshipped them or feared them. Sorcerers, who sought a dragon-like power through mastery of their magical gifts, came crawling to offer their services, for in all the wide world, no creature is as powerful as a dragon. Not in the beginning of days, and never across the all-unending span of eternity. Even the wise arcade Sabbath, who was the first elder dragons to name himself, threw his might into the great war as he listened to the whispers of Bolas that brushed through his mind. So the war raged while Bolas watched from a safe distance, confident that he would in the end be the final victor. As we have mentioned, the war lasted for thousands of years, and at the end, Bolas emerged indeed as the final victorious ruler of half Dominaria. But even that was not enough for him. Nicol Bolas wanted it all for himself, and so the war went on. One final battle to decree who was to be the final ruler took place in Numena, a major supercontinent in Dominaria, and saw the troops of Nicol Bolas fighting against those of Arcade's Sabbath. Bolas was about to crush his opponent when the unexpected intervention of his twin brother Ugin reverted the course of the battle, preventing the ultimate defeat of Sabbath. The rage and anger caused by the betrayal of his twin brother was so unbearable that Bolas's spark ignited and he planeswalked away, causing the war to end on the spot. And with that, we have just found ourselves the first planeswalker of Magic the Gathering's lore. Although the war technically ended with Bolas' first Planeswalk, Elder Dragons continued to ravage and terrify the lands of Dominaria for ages even after that. At some point in the history of the world, a second generation of dragons was born to the first. There were 5 of them, and they were known as Primeval Dragons. Although these beings were not as close to their progenitor as the first generation of Elder Dragons was, they were nonetheless extremely powerful and fearful godlike creatures. Their names were Rith, Triva, Dromar, Kozis, and Daragaz. Together, they easily conquered the entirety of Dominaria and ruled it through fear, until a group of 5 wizard kings, known as the Numena, almost single-handedly overthrew their global dominion and stole their powers by killing them. Each color of magic had a representative Numen. However, the white and green Numena were deceived and slain by the other 3 who wanted greater powers for themselves. The 3 surviving Numena were Loweling for blue, who then reincarnated into Ixidor, Kubur for black, who later reincarnated into the child of Phage and Virit Magellan, and Avaru for red, who later reincarnated into a giant city called Sanctum in an attempt to achieve immortality. The Numena, however, were not that different from dragons in their lust for power. In the years following their victory, they gradually spread out from Materia, a long and thin continent in the east of Yamura, and their advance did not stop until there was no land left that they had not already claimed. Some sort of peace then lasted for roughly 1,000 years, and during this time their powers grew to godlike proportions. Soon enough, however, the 3 Numena avidly turned against one another. Something unexpected happened though. In a battle of epic scale, their immense powers accidentally gave birth to a being that they called Mother. It was the living incarnation of magic itself. This newly born entity called itself Karona, and its magnificence was matched only by its terrifying energy. The Numena understood right away that Karona posed a never-before-seen threat to the entire world, and because of this, they set aside their rivalries to focus together on destroying the fearsome avatar before it was too late. In the end, after 13 months of fightings, the Numena finally managed to destroy Karona by sacrificing themselves and their powers in the process. And yet, it is said that even in death, the spirits of the godlike Numena kept lingering in the void, determined to again live one day. And so too did Karona's. Thank you for watching this first episode of my Magic the Gathering's complete lore series. If you enjoyed it, please consider to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment in the comment section down below. My name is Octopus, and I will see you in the next video.